Hello and welcome to Koshien Clench. Actually, Koshien Fang sounds better. My name is Matt, and joining me today is a very special guest. It's Matt.
It lived up to the hype, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for applauding my reference to this week's episode of Tiger Mask.
I won't lie, I was very confused by what you were doing there. There was a part of me that was thinking, do we need to restart the episode?
Yeah, we still might, but we won't. So, it is the 11th week of the spring anime season. We're covering all sports anime from June 11th to June 17th. One quick announcement before we get started. Despite the name of this episode, which I think is episode 38, this is the 50th episode.
It is our 50th upload, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So, because we do series reviews as well, so this is our 38th weekly episode, but
right.
Our 50th episode overall. We're not going to, we'll take some more time at the end of the season to reflect a little bit, but
right.
I just want to say it's, we're still surprised that we've been able to do 50. We're looking forward to doing 50 more.
Right. And then, the fact that we've been able to do it pretty consistently. Like, I don't think we ever thought we would really be able to do it. We probably thought we were going to give up probably after the first season, but hey, we're still going.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, cool. Well, do we have anything else?
I mean, I think we're going to talk about anime.
Well, you know what I meant. Did we have any other...
No.
Never mind. I'm going to talk about Yowamushi Pedal, if you're cool with it.
I guess I'm stuck with it whether I'm cool with it or not. So.
Okay, so we are covering episode 23 this week. In this episode, Onoda is left to the back of the pack. He manages to catch up to Kyoto Fushima, which is the team of Mito Tsuji. He and Mito Tsuji try and arrange a deal where they pull each other to the front. And Onoda ruminates on this for a little bit. He declines. And he manages to catch up to Sohoku. They inform him that Teshima told him that he could only be... if he was 3.5 minutes behind, he would be able to... He should try and catch up to them. He is actually 4.5 minutes behind, so he's going to do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And nobody seems to have any issue with this. And then the episode ends.
Right.
So, yeah, not a whole lot going on this episode.
Well, yeah, we keep saying that, but that's, at this point, it almost doesn't deserve comment because we know Yowamushi spreads out its plot as thin as possible. The one upside is, we never actually saw Mitsuji do anything in the race yet. We still haven't really seen him do anything, but at least we got to see him.
Right. He did a little bit. This was at least something, though I'm not entirely sure why he just sort of let Onoda pass after he was trying to keep him from passing through. Like, I was kind of glad to see him at least have a bit more of a plan, because if you recall, as I was watching the episode, I messaged you being like, hey, why does he care about this, any of this? Why does he care whether or not Onoda lets him pass? He himself, by his own admission, does not care about this stuff. But I was glad at the very least to see that there was a point to it, which was, the entire point was just so he could get up to the front, so he wouldn't get so exhausted, like he did last year, so that he could then go ahead and take the finish line, which is the only one that actually does matter.
Right.
So I think, as you mentioned earlier, it's like at the very least, it's nice that he was at least using his head.
Yeah, I mean, unlike Onoda, Midosiji focuses on, his strategic plans for victory,
right.
Whereas Onoda just pedals hard. What were your thoughts on the reappearance of the Hime Hime theme song?
I was actually okay with it. It was always one of the funnier gags, I think, from the original series, and they've actually been pretty good about not beating that joke into the ground this season.
I agree. The only reason I didn't like it was that there was, everybody was commenting like, oh, is this his Hime song? When he sings this song, he's even faster than ever. Like, as if it's a real superpower.
Right.
And that combined with the fact that Onoda has to narrate about how the second season of the show just started, so he has a new theme song to sing, which is even more powerful. Like, it's like he's going Super Saiyan level 2.
Right. So the new song gives him new power.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was, again, this show is silly, obviously, but I don't know. I just
Maybe
sort of...
if it was done a little bit more as a joke... It would have worked a little bit, but it was like...
Yeah,
this was
Onoda
kind of
was looking straight-faced. He's like, I have a more powerful song now because there's a new season of my favorite anime.
Right, and it's like, is this really like a technique he uses? Because this was always just sort of like... So in the first season, this was always just sort of used as like a small gag just to be like... this is, like, he's so used to it that this kind of helps him get back into his rhythm, and it's like, this isn't, like, something that was ever terrifying from people. This was something that they kind of gave confused looks about, like,
right.
Really? Now, I think you could still build on that joke a little bit more by having it's like, oh no, he's using his secret technique! Mm-hmm. It's like, it's kind of built from, the last season, but no, this is like, it's like, oh, this was supposed to be kind of like a bit of a hype moment, almost. Like, he's using his most powerful technique, the singing about his weird anime song.
Yeah.
And I guess I can kind of see where you're coming from.
Do you want to know my favorite line from this episode?
Please.
It was when Onoda caught up to Kyoto Fushimi, and Midasuji is remarking about how Onoda fell behind and had to try and catch up, and he looks at him and he says... Something similar happened last year, didn't it? Which, to me, could just be the subtitle of this entire show.
It's like, hey, this is oddly familiar.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Midasuji is the only person who's aware. He's like, why is all the same stuff happening?
I kind of got a kick as well out of Midasuji, with Nobu, like, trying to talk about how good he was, and Midasuji was like, fall back in line. Yeah. Like, I am not going to put up with your, like, bragging crap.
He's like, just because it's the inner high doesn't mean you get to talk. I'm the only one who gets to talk.
So what did you think about the whole thing with Yamaguchi? So Yamaguchi was their third-year sprinter on Kyoto Fukushima. Uh-huh. And apparently he's supposed to serve as Midasuji's conscience?
Conscience.
Yeah, conscience.
Yeah. Well, at least that's what he was assigned to do by Ishigaki. So right. Ishigaki was the old captain on Kyoto Fukushima, if you remember. He used to lead the team, but then when Midasuji showed up, Midasuji sort of took control. And Ishigaki told him, like, hey, Midasuji has potential, but he needs someone to tell him right from wrong.
Right.
Which, fits. And yeah, I think... I think it's okay. I like it in the fact that there's more there's more characters that are trying to make Midasuji more human. I think it's also interesting to see why certain characters stay on this team. Right. When clearly Midasuji is a very difficult person to work with.
Right.
So I mean, I am a little bit... Honestly, I'm more interested to see Yamaguchi's motivations than Onoda's. Or really anyone on Sohoku. I just find Sohoku completely uninteresting, but Kyoto Fukushima, like, I'd love to know more about their backstory and motivation.
Right, well, because they're the only ones who... Because that's something we've talked about in the past, is that Sohoku and Hakone are effectively the same team. Like, they try and make it seem like Hakone is supposed to be, like, the returning champions, like, this dominating force that's so detached from anything that they only care about winning. Whereas, Sohoku, like, believes in the ride and friends, but it's like, they don't really do anything that differently. At least Kyoto Fukushima has a different strategy and a different philosophy.
Yeah.
I guess my concern with the whole thing with Yamaguchi is that we really didn't see him doing much with the whole being his conscience thing.
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's something he's going to have to figure out later.
Right. I guess that was the point of this race, was that, he saw that Onoda was able to resist Mito Tsuji's sweet deal, but, was able to kind of follow with his, his own strategy, but...
Yeah.
So I guess that's supposed to be the moment where we might see him being able to talk back more to Mito Tsuji.
Yeah, why do you think Mito Tsuji had him chase Onoda, though?
Yeah, that's the part I don't get, because it's like Nobu would have been the one to choose, I would have thought.
Yeah, unless, clearly there's a reason Mito Tsuji didn't really care about Onoda being blocked. That's the thing. So at that point, it wasn't about blocking Onoda, because if Onoda wasn't going to help him get to the front, he didn't really care whether Onoda won the mountain stage or not.
Right.
So the only thing that mattered to him was getting something out of it for his team. So clearly he told Yamaguchi to do it, even though Yamaguchi's not a climber, for something to do. He wanted to teach Yamaguchi something.
Right.
I'm not sure exactly what Yamaguchi learned, though.
Or what he learned what Mito Tsuji
wanted him to learn.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he needs to learn what Mito Tsuji would have. No, wanted him to, because no, that would just make him fall into the same trap that every other single freaking character in the series does, and I do not need Mito Tsuji falling into Captain Sense, but
yeah.
I guess it's just I am a little interested to see how that's going to differ from what Mito Tsuji's plan was.
What do you think that Yamaguchi learned? Because the one line I wrote down during that chase is Yamaguchi's remarking on Onoda. He says, "He smells like a man of the shadows, like me." And then Yamaguchi reflects that he appreciates Onoda's aura.
Right. So I guess the whole thing about Onoda is that he doesn't have a lot of presence for what a champion should have.
Yeah, it's like Kuroko's basketball. Sorry, that's for another time.
We're gonna cover that one here soon. I just finished it, just sort of off the cuff here. I finished it. We're probably gonna be covering that here shortly. Anyway, we will get to that one when we get there. Yeah. But I guess the whole thing is that it's like he's seeing somebody without a lot. Just because somebody doesn't have a lot of presence doesn't mean that they can't act for themselves.
Yeah, it's just weird to me. I don't see why Midosiji would want him to learn that, because Midosiji would want him to learn only that he's a perfect Zaku who only follows orders.
Right.
But I don't know. So hopefully that'll actually get fleshed out and it's not just random. The last thing from this episode that I think we need to remark on before we move on is when Onoda does catch up. And it's like you said in the summary, Imaizumi tells him, "Hey, Teshima told us if it's less than 3.5 minutes, then we can send you forward and you can close the gap. But it's been 4.5 minutes since he left, so you won't be able to catch him.
Right.
But do you want to try anyway?" And Onoda just says yes, and then they all say, "We'll support you," by explicitly ignoring the captain's directions.
And why do I have a feeling that was all part of Teshima's plan anyway?
Oh gosh, I hope not.
It's he's probably going to ignore my orders anyway, which means he will catch up and we will have a glorious race somehow.
Yeah, because that'll give the extra motivation he needs to catch up exactly at the right time. Or
yeah,
no. I don't know. I kind of hope not / don't think so, because Teshima legitimately did not plan on Onoda falling back.
Right, that is true. So I'm hoping maybe this will plan a little bit more character drama here. Maybe it's Teshima, has to kind of come to grips with okay, I am not able to control my team. My team is not listening to what I am saying, and this might be a bit of a problem. Unfortunately, I would hope so.
I doubt it. There's no way they're going to do that at the end of this season.
Right.
Have it be on this tenuous note where you're not sure if the team is really able to work together or not.
Right. But then again, that would make a good cliffhanger for, going back to kind of bring people back into the next season, but I don't know.
I'm just not sure this show has the courage to do that.
You're probably right about that as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know you said that was the last thing. There was one minor thing I wanted to bring up, which kind of got a laugh out of me, which was, so as Anoda's getting through the pack, like, the first part of the pack, tries to keep him back, but then after he gets that part, he gets to another part, and he's going to try and burst through, and, a bunch of the guys like, okay, well, we need to stop him, and then there was one guy who's like, no, stop, cycling's a gentleman's sport. We should honor his passion to try and get back to the front.
Yeah, exactly. We respect the number 1 tag.
Right, which
so they just part in the middle and let him go.
Which, I don't know, I just got a kick out of because I'm just imagining the author being like, I don't want to have to write any more situations for Oda to get... Just let him get through to this point so I get to Kyoto Fukushima.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, I thought it was a little lazy. On the other hand, though, it did make a little sense, but... I don't know. It felt a little lazy to me, but...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just funny that, like, all these random teams, half of them would assign a specific person to block Onoda, and the other half would, like, be fanboys of him.
It's like, yeah, like, just watching him race just, like, fills me with passion, too, and it's like, okay, guys, come on.
Yeah, alright, we know Onoda's everyone's fantasy boy, okay. Speaking of fantastic boys, Tiger Mask episode 36.
Oh, boy.
Accord. The focus on this episode is the 4th match, and it's a 2-on-2 tag match. NJPW decides to have Tiger the Dark and Tiger Mask fight it because they want to save Okada's strength for the 5th match. They are able ultimately to defeat Tiger the Great the Third and Big Tiger the Second, but in the process, Naoto gets his mask torn off by Tiger the Great the Third, exposing his face, and now Rory knows it was Naoto all along, and everything makes a little bit more sense. Ultimately, Takuma is able to win the match by using his new killer move, Crossbow, on both Tiger the Great the Third and Big Tiger the Second. And so by the end of the match, they're able to get the pin. And then so for the 5th match, they want to GWM decides that they're going to save Tiger the Great the Third's strength. So they send Miracle One out to fight Okada. And Miracle One starts off the match by spitting green paint in Okada's eyes. And that's where it ends.
Yeah! There we go. Real uplifting ending there, but real confusing ending, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where did they get the paint from? Like, it came just so completely out of nowhere.
Yeah, and how did he just, like, keep... I don't know, I guess that's a thing, but... I don't know how you keep green paint in your mouth and, like... I mean, maybe I haven't practiced enough.
Right.
But I guess that's a move in wrestling.
Yeah.
Again, our lack of exposure to pro wrestling really hampers our ability to infer as to what's normal.
Right, and it's like we have never seen anything like this in Tiger Mask before is the other thing. Like, just getting rid of, like, the whole, like, what is wrestling like thing? Mm-hmm. Like, just, they haven't established it as a part of the show.
It's abnormal for the show itself, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and that's kind of the issue. But barring that, so what did you think about Takuma in this episode?
Well, I guess it started with when they were trying to select who was going to be on the team, and Ryu, and he was arguing that Takuma shouldn't be on the team because his moves were stale, and he said, no, my body is remembering. My body is remembering how to fight. That's what he says. And everyone's just like, well, that's good enough for me. And he was right, because Tiger Mask kind of makes a fool of himself. Gets his mask torn off, literally torn in two. And then Takuma is able to take down both opponents with the same move, which is the crossbow, in which he basically crouches down, and then jumps up with his arms crossed and hits them in the chin.
Right.
Which I don't know. Somehow that doesn't feel like it was animated in a kind of a cool way, but it doesn't really feel like a killer move. Like,
yeah, that just sort of feels like an attack, and like that's the move that takes down like Tiger the Great the Third.
Yeah.
The only thing I've been able to think of is that I'm not really following the Tiger Mask fandom at all. I don't really know what's going on with that.
You think it's a real move?
Oh, I have no idea if it's a real move or not. It could be a real move. What I was just going to say, though, is that I kind of get the impression that as the series has been going along, it's become more and evidently clear to the production team that Tiger the Dark has been more popular than Tiger Mask.
Yeah, because he has a personality?
Yeah, I mean, kind of, a little bit. So I kind of get the sense that this season they've been doing what they can to make him more the focus, because this entire season has been about how garbage of a character Tiger Mask has been. The fact that he, like, this entire episode, the whole thing was that Tiger Mask was fighting Tiger the Great the Third, and he was kind of losing his cool. Mm-hmm. Like, the entire match. Like, oh no, it's like, he can't.
You gotta bring in cool guy Takuma.
Right, but it's like, why have their places switched? Like, I feel like this is the sort of thing that Tiger Mask should be doing for Takuma.
Right.
Like, getting him to calm down and be like, okay, you need to cool down. Let me show you how a hero does this. But no, here's Tiger Mask like, oh, I'm so mad at Tiger the Great the Third, and then Takuma comes in and is like, I got this, buddy, and he beats both of them.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. On top of that, Naoto's killer move doesn't work because, like we predicted, they already saw it. So,
right.
Tiger the Great the Third just says, once you know how the move works, it's pretty easy to mess it up. and so he messes it up.
Right.
Whereas Takuma's is apparently invincible.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, again, I think Takuma also has the benefit of nobody's seen it before. But
well, yeah, but he uses it twice in a row is what I'm saying.
Right.
And it's equally effective.
It's equally effective, and it's literally what wins them the match.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I kind of get the sense that there's some executive meddling, because, this show is not exactly like a high-budget show. Mm-hmm. This is not, this is something that they are probably animating week to week, because that does happen sometimes with anime. They do. And I kind of get the sense that this is the sort of, there was a lot of executive meddling going on here. It's like, well, Takuma merchandise is selling way more than the Tiger Mask stuff. Let's focus more on him this season, because they don't. It's not as if though they have any source material to work with. So
yeah. What do you think of Naoto's exposure to the world?
That was the one interesting part of the episode, but we don't see the ramifications of that, which is a little bit irritating.
At all. The only ramification we saw was Ruri saying, "Well, a lot of stuff makes more sense now."
And it's like, and that's it. It's like, so are you gonna did you have something going on with Naoto the wrestler, but you always kind of idolize Tiger Mask? And I guess it doesn't matter anymore because now she's with Takuma anyway.
Or is she, because they refuse to actually nail anything down?
Right. I don't know. But that was the only one, because it's like the people at
NJPW. Oh my gosh, Matt.
Sorry.
It's been the same acronym for 8 months.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm not mad.
I know. But at NJPW, Naoto has been interacting with them independently from how he interacts with them as Tiger Mask. Why don't we see any of those wrestlers being like, "Oh my God, you were Tiger Mask, Naoto"? But it's just like, okay, well now we got to figure out our next match.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And nobody gives a crap who Naoto is.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So we'll see. Maybe there'll be some ramifications next time. But hey, we only have 2 episodes left of both of these shows, so let's get on with it. One show that we have more than 2 episodes left of is Big Wind-Up.
Woo!
So this week I did watch the correct episode, which I'd also actually watched last week. It's a Big Wind-Up episode 11. Right. So the focus here is on the selection for the summer tournament, and it's pretty much the whole episode is spent at this assembly hall where all the different teams in their prefecture get together to determine what the bracket will be for the summer tournament.
Right.
And the way that works is that the top teams from the year before get spread out in different quadrants of the bracket so that none of them play each other in the first round. And then after that, all the other team captains come up and they pick a number randomly, and they randomly get assigned into a bracket. So the whole Nishiura team has come together in order to witness that and see who they're going to play first.
Right.
Beforehand, Mahashi goes to the bathroom and runs into Haruna, and so Haruna figures out who he is, that he plays with Abe. He talks down to Mahashi, but Mahashi can't understand that he's being talked down to, and he thinks Haruna is awesome. And Abe separately reflects on how bad he wants to defeat Haruna, like he always does. Ultimately, Hanai, the captain, picks the number for their match, and they are playing Teiso?
No, Tosei.
Tosei. I got some of those sounds correct. They're playing Tosei, who won the tournament the previous year, and they decide that the only way they're going to be ready to play them is if they start practicing twice a day before school and after school.
Right. That's pretty much where the episode ends. So one thing you mentioned there in the episode preview that I did want to comment about was how Mihashi didn't realize he was being talked down to by Haruna. I actually wasn't sure about that scene because, like, we kind of hear through Abe's mouth that he was being talked down to, and then Abe starts ruminating how terrible Haruna is. Like, you know, he's like, it's like, we're gonna go up against him. He's only gonna pitch 80 games, and you're just gonna sit there and watch while we beat your team. What was that?
You said he's gonna pitch 80 games.
Oh, 80 pitches. Sorry. sorry. You know what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to sit there and he's just going to pitch his 80 pitches, and then it's going to be like, and then he's just going to sit there and watch as we, like, beat his game. So I wasn't sure if that was the only real indication that we got that Haruna was talking down to Mihashi. So I'm not sure if that wasn't, like, just Abe projecting.
Yeah, that's possible. I think there is part of Haruna where he really is... He's not a bad guy, but he's also not, like, a pure and noble-hearted person necessarily. He does get fired up. And so when I'm like, yeah, he did notice how tiny Mahashi was. And so he probably was like, hey, well, you know, may the best team win. You know, he's sort of... He knows that's what you're supposed to say.
Right.
But he's got to, on some level, be thinking, like, there's no way this kid can beat me.
Right.
So I don't know.
I guess
I kind of agreed with Abe's interpretation on that one, but who knows?
I don't know. I think Abe's a bit of an unreliable narrator. I think you are right that there is kind of an element of, like, this guy. Like, he may have been... I kind of get the sense that he may have been condescending to Mahashi without even, like, realizing it.
Yeah, that may just be how his voice works.
Right. Or just like, you know, it's like you go up against somebody that you go up against, like, I guess the best way I can put it is, like, if you're, like, in the same writing class, for example, and you're working with somebody, you know, you're kind of going over their work with them, like you do, like a group edit or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And you kind of see, like, how, like, that they're not very good, but you're kind of, like, trying to pick out the parts that are, like, well, you know, this is really good. Stuff like that.
Well, yeah, good for you. This was a solid intro or whatever.
Right, exactly.
You're not trying to be mean. You just can't not judge them.
Right. Yeah, a little bit. And that's kind of the sense I got from Haruna, whereas Abe is just kind of like, he's still under this assumption that Abe...
Right. He's convinced that everything Haruna says is passive-aggressive.
Right, or, like, at least intentionally so.
Right.
But, so, I think the major thing that happened in this episode, of course, was how they picked Tosei as the first team. What did you think of that?
Well, I think it fits how this show goes. You know, they don't really... Because they put so much attention on the games, they don't have throwaway games.
Right.
So they wanted... they want to spend a long time, I assume, on this first game with Tosei. So they might as well make it the best team they can play.
Right. I guess what I was trying to get at for this one, what I really loved about this was how the series was kind of setting them up to go up against Musashino.
Musashino? Oh, yeah.
Or Musashino, my bad. Yeah. And how it's like, you're getting all this characterization of Haruna.
Yeah, you're seeing right beforehand. Of course, there's going to be a rivalry. Of course, they're going to have a showdown between Haruna and Mahashi.
Maybe that's not going to be like their very first game, but you think that they're going to maybe go up against some like small team first, but their first like really big game is going to go up against Musashino. And they kind of, because it's like Tosei you don't know anything about. All you know about Tosei is that they kind of mention offhand, like, yeah, they're the team to beat this year. Mm-hmm. And it's like we get like no build up to them whatsoever.
Yeah, I guess now that you're saying it that way, I like that too, because that's usually how these things work in real life. You're so hyper focused on one team, or you have a relationship with one team, but then there's these other great competitors out there that you just show up and you have to deal with.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, and the fact, because it's like, this is the sort of team that any other series, like, they would be kind of in the background, and they would kind of build them up slowly over the course of the series. Like, I guess for the best example I can think of is like in Haikyuu with Shiro Torizawa. Mm-hmm. Like, they are mentioned like once or twice early on, but they're not really the team that they're like that Karasuno is really like that worried about at first. Their big rivalry is with Alba Jose, for example, or with like Nakoma. They're kind of building up those rivalries. So it's like, but yeah, this kind of felt like this was supposed to be like the moment where they kind of like name drop a big team, but they're not really going to get into it too much yet. But it's, it's kind of like, it's planting that seed in your mind, and you're like, oh my lord, like they're going up against like the champions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the first round. Yeah,
in the first round. And I think that's what really gets me about it. Is just that kind of like, that sort of build up, and then that complete subverting of your expectations.
Yeah. I also like from Tosei's side where initially they do what you'd think they do, and all the upperclassmen are like, oh, can we just have the second string play? Because, we don't need to waste the talents of our best players on this team full of freshmen. Let's just relax because we've already won the first round. So you assume, oh, they're going to lose because they're too arrogant. But it just totally, it establishes, says, that's one way we could do this, but then the show says, but we're not going to, because the captain sort of looks at them and he's like, what are you talking about? Like, we can't underestimate anyone. Every match counts because it's single elimination. We're going to put our best team on the field.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's like, because he even mentions, like, it's like, we thought that a couple years ago, and we lost. Mm-hmm. Like, we are not going to underestimate this, like, unknown team, essentially. Yeah. So it's like, it's like, we know, because it's like, the only way that they could get around that, like, in a series like this generally, is, it's like, okay, so they're overly cocky, so they're going to put out their second string players, and then, they're going to start they're going to start, like, really beating them, and then there's going to be a moment where the old guard comes in, where, like, the main players come in, and, they're going to, like, they're going to start, like, dominating the game, and then the real game is going to take place in, like, the last inning or two, and it's going to be, like, all tied up, and then we kind of see how the series progresses, and, they probably lose, but... Like, that Karasuno would, or the Karasuno, Nishihiro. Yeah, Nishihiro would probably lose and, have to come back for this next year. But it's like, Big Windup is so, it's so confident in its writing that you don't honestly know which way it's going to go from here. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't know if this... It's like... And what I like about that, too, with the whole thing with Tosei, is that right now, it's like, yeah, this is not going to be an easy game. Mm-mm. Like, they are basically outright telling you, the viewer, we are not going to go easy on Nishihiro.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really liked this episode a lot.
Yeah, it's good. It was a good setup, and I'm looking forward to... seeing how they ramp this first core, and I can't wait for that game.
I know. I'm really excited to see how this game plays out. Like, I have some vague memories, but I really don't remember much about it.
I legitimately remember nothing.
Oh, well, good.
One thing I do remember, though, is this week's episodes of Encouragement of Climb.
Oh, great. I remember those too. I'll go talk about them now. How'd you like that transition, buddy?
It was super smooth.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we are covering episodes 13 and 14. So the first episode is... so episode 13 is about... they are stargazing, the three girls, Aoi, Hinata, Kokona. They're stargazing. And then they realize that there's too much light, so they want to go out into the forest, and Kokona thinks, hey, like, I really like firefly. There's, like, a firefly that flies by, and Kokona's like, hey, let's go to this place I know where there's a bunch of fireflies. And apparently, Hinata's cool with, or Aoi's cool with it, Hinata is not, but they end up going anyway. The two girls have this shared memory of the past where they got lost out in the mountains one time, and they were saved apparently by either a firefly ghost or fairy, depending on who you talk to, and which is why Hinata does not like it. They go out though at night along with Kaede, and it gets really dark again, and they start seeing the fireflies, and it's a lovely experience. At the end of the episode, you find out that it was actually Kokona was the one who saved them when they were kids, who dressed up as a firefly. Second episode, they go out to Mount Kirigamine. Aoi's mother actually comes along for once, along with Hinata's father. This is a very different mountain than what they've normally gone to, because it's a lot more open. And they're going up to see, like, a weather station. Aoi and Hinata remembered that the first time they asked Hinata's father about the first mountain they went to, and that was Mount Tanigawa. And then they decide that they want to go to Mount Tanigawa, for their next trip. And that's kind of the episode. These were an okay batch of episodes. I'm not gonna lie, I think this was probably about the weakest we've seen of the series, though.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure. I thought the whole connecting Kokona with their past was a little bit contrived.
Oh, it was a lot bit contrived.
Okay. Yeah, so...
I only didn't mind it because I thought it was kind of cute that Kokona had, like, a homemade firefly outfit with a light-up butt. Like, I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's like... That is a little funny at the very least, but yeah, it's like the fact that Kokona actually was the one who saved them, it's like...
Yeah, and they all have this shared past. Yeah,
like, she's younger than them.
Yeah, why was a 4-year-old out walking by herself?
In a firefly costume.
Yeah.
And I guess I also don't understand how neither one of them understood that it was a little girl who saved them and not an adult.
Yeah. Because she's shorter than you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I figured it was going to go something. I didn't think it was going to be Kokona. That was at least a legitimate twist for me. But I don't know. I thought that was a little weird that they just didn't because it's like, so apparently they both seem to have this memory where this firefly that saved them was like an adult-sized person. And they both, like, she saw, like, this Hinata saw this horrifying firefly man, and then, Aoi saw this, like, kind of beautiful, like, fairy-type figure, and it's like, and, the major difference is that they were both, like, towering above her, and it's like, she's shorter than you. How could you guys how could you not realize that?
I don't know. I mean, there's limits to how... 4 and 5-year-olds interpret the world.
That is true. I get
and
that.
The way I was thinking about it was, if I think back to when I was a young kid, like, kindergarten age, and when I saw other kids I didn't know, sometimes, even if they weren't actually older than me or actually bigger, like, I would just interpret them as being so mature and so big and so smart. You know, like I guess I would still see them as kids, but you know, I would see them as so totally different from me. Right. Because, like, oh, that's a second grader. Oh my gosh. I can't even process how mature that person is, you know? And so it might be that because they didn't know who Kokona was, and she was in this weird outfit, so maybe they just interpreted her as... But again, it's a stretch.
Yeah, it's a little much that, and the fact that, like, she led them back, but then the other parents didn't see this person who led them back, or this child who led them back.
Yeah, exactly. Did Kokona just, like, walk them nearby and say, like, there are your parents, go, you know, like, as if she actually were a guardian spirit?
Right. Like, and I don't know, it's just a little much for me to accept.
Yeah. I don't know how much thought it deserves, to be honest.
I guess that's fair. I think the one major takeaway from this episode otherwise was that you saw Hinata, like, in a more dependent... It showed how she was a bit more dependent on Aoi than she's, like, let on.
Yeah.
Like, because it's always been that Aoi has sort of leaned on Hinata to kind of get her through things, and, you know, in this moment when Hinata was kind of scared, when the fireflies were sort of... Or when it got, like, really dark, she kind of grasped her hand and is like, please, just, I need some comfort.
Yeah.
Which, you know, but at the same time, it's kind of like, we've seen this from these characters before. It's like...
It didn't really do much that we needed.
It didn't really evolve their relationship any more than what we've seen, essentially.
What did evolve in the second episode was they realized what the mountain of their memories was. Right. I just basically laughed. I laughed at that because they've been referring to this since the first episode of the first season of, like, oh, you know, we need to climb mountains so together we can find the mountain of our memories. And I always interpreted that like, oh, they're gonna keep hiking in Japan until they both together realize what they find the place that they had this memory of as kids, and then for the first time they're like, wait a second, why don't we just ask Dad? like they don't need to go on a quest. They should just ask an authority figure. He's like, oh yeah, it was Tanagawa. And
I remember that.
They're like, thanks. And that's how they discover the mountain of their memories.
Yeah, it wasn't
I don't know what was the point of all the setup if literally they just had to ask Dad.
I had a different interpretation of that. Like, I kind of didn't think that the mount... I had forgotten that there was supposed to be some mystery behind it, because it's not really referred to at all ever.
Uh-huh.
So I guess I just didn't really see, like, why that was even a big deal in the first place, because I never really thought that as being a focus of the show.
Oh, I totally did.
Oh, well then. Yeah. So, but yeah, I just never really felt that was, like, much of a focus, and I just sort of thought it was just sort of, like, a springboard to jump into, like, just them sort of going out and seeing the world.
Well, I thought it was the closest thing to a plot through line they had.
See, because I kind of thought the whole Mount Fuji thing was really more the plot, I guess. Was kind of like building up to see Mount Fuji for themselves, and how we've had this arc where Aoi fails, and now she has to kind of redeem herself, almost. I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It was fine. I guess we got to see some interaction with Aoi's mother and Hinata's dad, but it wasn't really much.
Did you need to see that?
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't really. I thought they might have tried to do something interesting, because it's like we've never seen, like, Hinata's mother.
Or adults. Yeah.
What was that?
We've hardly seen adults in this show.
Right. And so it's like, I don't know, maybe they can have some insight. Like, they could have had, like, I don't know, like a discussion about how their girls are growing up. You know, they're kind of lost to time. Like, stuff like that. I don't know. Like, I felt like they could have done more with Aoi's mother in that scene than just like, oh, my little girl is growing up.
Yeah. It's happy, but also sad. It's like,
yeah.
Good insight, Mom.
It's like, it's not a great insight. I think it's mainly just because I expect more from the show at this point.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. We're pretty deep into it. You know?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and, you know, it's like, you guys have done better with different characters like this. So, you know, it's like, I think you guys, like, you can maybe kick it up a little bit more, you know?
All right. Well, we'll just see if they can kick it up in their last 10 episodes or so.
Yeah.
I think that wraps us up, though, Matt.
Oh, fantastic. Well...
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And I'll see you next week. Our logo design is by James Ratcliffe. The theme music is Fly High by Burnout Syndromes, covered and performed by Luke Bartka. You can follow KoshienCast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and our email is koshienCast@gmail.com. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review. We'll be back next week with the best and worst from the world of sports anime, and until then, keep training.